What does it take for someone to lay down their life for another? What kind of love is needed for such a selfless act? These are the questions that come to mind when we reflect on the life of a Polish Franciscan friar and prisoner of Auschwitz, who left behind an inspiring legacy that continues to touch lives and transform hearts. Today we're talking about Maximilian Kolbe, a name synonymous with the ultimate sacrifice. One decision made in a moment of incomprehensible pressure is one of the most inspiring stories of human kindness, bravery, and the power of faith. Join us as we unpack the incredible life and legacy of Maximilian Kolbe and discover how his example can inspire us to live with courage, conviction, and love. Let's dive in. I'm Nina Hirlaender, Franciscan sister, spiritual director, and founder of Dancing Spirit Tours. It wasn't that long ago that I lacked the self-awareness and inner freedom to grow my relationship with the divine. Fast forward past a lot of lessons learned, I now have a spirituality that gives me more joy, meaning, and connection than I ever thought possible. I created the Holy Rebels podcast to give you simple, actionable strategies to help you trust your gut, develop your intuition, and stay grounded when life gets hard. If you're a spiritual seeker or a mystic in the making, you're in the right place, my friend. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Holy Rebels podcast. I am so looking forward to this conversation today. We're at the end of a series about the 8 keys to happiness, also known as the Beatitudes. Each one of these keys is an invitation to explore what happiness means to you and how you can experience more joy and fulfillment in your life. The Beatitudes are the core of spirituality. They're guiding principles that transcend religion and speak to the heart of our humanity. They're not about following a set of rules or dogmas, but rather about finding happiness, true happiness, the kind of happiness that does not depend on your circumstances. Rather, this kind of happiness is about your attitudes about life and how you live or don't live true to your values. The Beatitudes are about finding happiness right now, no matter what's going on. They shift your perspective so that you can find meaning in unexpected places, even in the midst of difficulty. That is certainly true of today's Beatitude. But before we dive in, I have an exciting announcement. We're coming up to our spring and summer pilgrimages at Dancing Spirit Tours, and we still have a couple spots left on our Walk the Camino trip in Spain coming up this May. For those of you who don't know, my father and I run a spiritual tour company called Dancing Spirit Tours. We've been guiding spiritual seekers on sacred journeys around the world for over a decade. Some of you who are listening now have been with us to places like Spain, Italy, Iceland, England, Austria. Shout out to all those dancing spirits out there. If you've ever dreamed of walking the Camino, if a spiritual travel experience is on your bucket list, consider joining us this May because this Camino is incredibly special. Every day begins with a workshop about the spiritual exercises. This is a 500-year-old spiritual decision-making strategy that helps you cut through fear and embrace the life you're called to live. It was created by Ignatius of Loyola, who wrote the spiritual exercises while he was walking the very route that we'll take. He was going through his own dark night of the soul and his own spiritual awakening experience. The exercises are powerful because they merge your inner Camino with your outer Camino. So they combined a deep, soulful reflection with the trail that you're walking. You get all the benefits of movement and a hike, which helps you integrate your spiritual experience of the journey. It's life-changing, even for me, even though I've walked this path a number of times, because every time I go, the experience is so immersive and confronting in the best way possible. It helps you get back on your life path. It helps you decide what's most important to you and then focus on those things. It gives you clarity, confidence, endurance, and courage. Plus, the trail is stunning. It winds through the beautiful Basque region, past soaring mountains, orchards, vineyards, a semi-desert landscape. The land itself is as dynamic as your inner discoveries will be. If you're interested in joining me, get your free trip guide to find out more. The link is in the show notes of this episode, or just send me a message and I'll send you the information. Okay, let's get back into our Beatitude and the story of Maximilian Kolbe. So we've reached the final Beatitude, 8 of 8. You'd think after all the beautiful wisdom that comes before, that the final one would be the most enticing. We've learned beautiful Beatitudes like, blessed are the pure of heart, blessed are the merciful, blessed are the peacemakers. You'd think that the final Beatitude would end with something uplifting like, blessed are you who have made it to the end. You will get everything you've ever wanted, or something like that. But it's not. Instead, the final Beatitude presents a paradox that challenges our conventional understanding of blessing. It says, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This Beatitude confronts us with the reality that standing up for truth and justice can lead to persecution. Yet it also reassures us that such sacrifices are not made in vain. The promise of the kingdom of heaven is not a distant, abstract concept, but a present and living reality for those who endure hardship for doing what is right. This Beatitude invites us to reflect deeply on our commitment to our values. It asks us to consider what we're willing to endure for the sake of what's right. And it assures us that our efforts are more valuable than we can possibly imagine. If you've been following along with this series about the Beatitudes, you've undoubtedly noticed the deeply paradoxical wisdom of them. They beckon us to see beyond the immediate struggle and to find the hidden treasure of joy and fulfillment that hardship can reveal. This final Beatitude mirrors this pattern, suggesting that those who face persecution for their steadfast commitment to righteousness are, in fact, immensely blessed. This idea, although counterintuitive, underscores a profound truth that enduring adversity for love's sake is not only the right thing to do, but it is also sacred. Your commitment to these principles, no matter the opposition, is what lays the foundation for a heaven-like experience on earth, both for you and for those around you. Blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Listen to the Greek to English translation. It goes like this. Happy are those who suffer because they refuse that which is temporary in favor for that which is eternal. For the reign of God is the same as this. You're blessed when you're willing to give up short-term pleasure for enduring purpose. That's the central principle of all the Beatitudes. It's about choosing lasting joy over quick, fleeting moments of satisfaction. This principle not only challenges our natural instincts, but also invites us into a deep reflection on the values that truly enrich our lives. Happy are those who suffer because they refuse that which is temporary in favor for that which is eternal. For the reign of God is the same as this. By prioritizing principles like peace and kindness over fleeting pleasure, you align yourself closer to the essence of what it means to lead a meaningful life. The courage to make such choices, despite opposition or misunderstanding, defines the path of true fulfillment. By the way, it's essential to recognize that this call to peace and righteousness is not limited to a single group or belief system. It's a universal calling that embraces everyone, regardless of your background, religion, or ideology. The essence of this movement is its inclusivity and the belief that everyone has a role to play in nurturing a more peaceful, equitable world. If you're part of this movement, and I'll bet you are because you're listening to the Holy Rebels podcast, if you are committed to doing whatever you can to become the best version of you, then you already know that there's going to be opposition. Because unfortunately, peace is not the mainstream idea of true power. The world's idea of power is domination. It's the opposite of peace. And persecution is a sign of that opposition. If you're trying to promote peace, you will sometimes be undermined because of it. That can be overt, like actively being attacked, or subtle, such as experiencing feelings of isolation. As we contemplate the depth and paradox of this beatitude, particularly the call to endure for the sake of righteousness, it calls to mind a compelling story, that of St. Maximilian Kolbe. His life is a tangible embodiment of these teachings, a vivid illustration of self-sacrifice and the pursuit of peace against the odds. Maximilian Kolbe was born in 1894 in Poland to a very spiritual family. When Maximilian was a child, he was driving his mother up the wall one day, as children do, and she said to him, "Oh, my sweet boy, what's going to become of you?" She meant well, but as a little child, this kind of struck Maximilian in the heart, and he immediately went over to the parish church across the street. At the time, little Maximilian loved the image of Mother Mary. He thought it was so gentle and beautiful. There's a statue of Mary at the church, so he kneels before her, looks up at her warm smile and open arms, and asks, "Well, Mother Mary, what will become of me?" And in that moment of youthful curiosity, Maximilian was enveloped by a vision that would forever shape his destiny. It was as if the world around him faded, leaving him in a serene presence of the divine. The statue seemed to come alive, and there before him stood Mother Mary, her form radiating with an ineffable grace. She smiled at him and extended her arms, in which she held 2 crowns, one red and one white. Mother Mary posed a question that would define Maximilian's path. "My son, the red crown brings martyrdom and sainthood, while the white offers purity of heart and devotion. Which do you choose?" Without hesitation, embodying the fearless spirit that would characterize his life, Maximilian says, "I choose both." Mary's smile broadened, a silent acknowledgement of the heroic journey that lay ahead. And then she vanished. This decision to choose both crowns, made in the innocence of childhood, would echo throughout Maximilian's life, guiding his actions and his choices. Let's pause here for a moment. I want to share something with you about Mother Mary, not just in Maximilian's life, but in a broader spiritual context. If you were to ask Maximilian, "Who is Mary?" he would tell you, "She is my mother." Mary isn't merely a historical figure. She assumes a much grander, much more intimate role. She is the archetypal divine feminine, a nurturing presence that extends beyond being mother to Jesus. Mary symbolizes an archetype of maternal, universal love, embodying trust and forgiveness. When Maximilian looks at Mary, he sees an emblem of unconditional love and comfort for all humanity. For most of us, we meet this version of the divine feminine in our darkest hour, when we most need to know that God is mother as well as father, that God is tender, nourishing, feminine gentleness, as well as a great masculine fire of law and truth. In fact, he's so taken by Mary that he eventually joins the Franciscans, who have a special relationship with this aspect of God, and Maximilian becomes a Franciscan friar and a priest. He makes his profession at the young age of 24 and was sent to Rome to study. The year 1917 happened to be the 200th anniversary of the founding of the Freemasons in England. They were demonstrating in Rome, in Vatican Square, and Maximilian happened to be there when he saw a group of men carrying an image of Archangel Michael being stomped on by the devil. And the men were yelling, "The devil will rule the Vatican! The Pope will be possessed by the devil!" Obviously, that's a disturbing thought, and it shocked Maximilian. He thought, if darkness could claim such power over people, couldn't the forces of light and goodness do the same? Can you be possessed by goodness? He remembers the vision of Mother Mary that he had when he was a child, but now that vision is more than a memory. It's a call to action. And it was this reflection, stirred by the provocative protests he witnessed, that inspired him to create the Militia Immaculata, a movement dedicated to promoting hope and altruism. Maximilian founded Militia Immaculata on October 16, 1917. This date is extraordinarily significant because parallel to his spiritual experiences, another miraculous event is unfolding. In the remote village of Fatima, Portugal, a celestial phenomenon captivates the world. Over the course of 6 months, 3 young shepherd children report visions of Mother Mary, known famously as the Fatima apparitions. These encounters are not merely folklore. They carry a divine message of hope and peace for the world. Mother Mary conveys through these children that through purity of heart and unwavering faith, humanity can find solace and refuge in the divine through the turmoil that is to come. She promises that despite the despair encircling the globe, peace will ultimately prevail. Remember, this is the period during World War I. This poignant message resonates deeply with Maximilian, reinforcing his belief in the power of goodness and the role that Mary plays as a conduit for achieving peace. Maximilian is filled with a passionate urgency to help as many people as possible, as fast as possible. And the fastest, easiest way to do that was to introduce a soul to the gentle, loving spirit of the divine feminine. As a facet of the divine, Mother Mary is so powerful because she's familiar. When you look into her eyes, you can see that she is very human. She's witnessed the spectrum of human emotion. She embodies an intimate understanding of sorrow and fear and a profound yearning for love. She embodies vulnerability, but also unconditional forgiveness. The mother aspect of God speaks directly to our souls, reassuring us that there's no way to sever the bond between you and the Creator. Sharing this perspective of God is Maximilian's vision. He wants the world to know that God is unfailingly tender and that we are loved and understood despite our flaws and failures. Maximilian is sent to Nagasaki, Japan, where he's faced with the task of establishing a new friary. Conventional wisdom and the advice of his friends was to build the friary in the bustling city center. Yet, Maximilian felt a strong nudge to choose the unlikeliest location for the friary, the side of the mountain. His decision was met with disbelief and ridicule. It defied practical logic. However, Maximilian believed Mary was asking him to do it. And so the friary was constructed in that very spot. This choice, seemingly illogical at the time, would later be praised. In 1945, when the atomic bomb devastated Nagasaki, the friary on the mountain was one of the only buildings to survive the blast. Maximilian's decision, guided by Mary, had not only shaped his spiritual path, but had tangibly protected the Franciscan community from annihilation. Upon returning to Poland, Maximilian embarks on a new chapter. He establishes a publishing company dedicated to spreading messages of faith, hope, and love. The publishing house became a beacon of light amidst the growing conflict and despair of World War II. The Nazis did not like that very much. They arrest Maximilian and send him to Auschwitz. Auschwitz was probably the most sinister place ever designed. Created not just to kill the body, but also to extinguish hope and crush the soul. Maximilian and his fellow prisoners are subjected to back-breaking labor, digging, hauling trees, endlessly shifting mounds of stones from one place only to move them back the following day. This relentless cycle of work was a deliberate assault on hope itself, because the labor was devoid of purpose. It was a mockery of the human need for meaning. Above the entry gates of Auschwitz is a sign that reads, Arbeit macht frei, which means work sets you free. As prisoners toiled beneath the banner bearing hollow promises of freedom, they soon realized the horrific truth. In this place, true freedom was indeed a distant, unattainable thing, often only granted by the mercy of death. If you visit Auschwitz, you can walk through these gates and you can experience a small fraction of the disorientation felt by the prisoners. After passing through the gate, you're standing on the inside. Now look behind you. The sign is now a mirror image, meant to be read by the outside. You can't read the words anymore, because now they're backwards, like you're in a backwards nightmare. The twisted letters represent the upside-down nature of the place. Except one tiny detail. Look at the sign and you will notice a small, almost inconspicuous detail that holds a profound narrative. The gate was actually made by prisoners under the watch of the SS. It contains a deliberate defiance, a message for prisoners who come after them. As they crafted the notorious slogan, Arbeit macht frei, they carried out an act of silent rebellion. The prisoners inverted the letter B in Arbeit. This reversed letter is not a flaw in craftsmanship. It's an emblem of human resistance amidst the darkest of times. Against the backdrop of immense suffering and dehumanization, the misshapen letter stands as a testimony to the prisoner's unyielding spirit. Maximilian and the 1.3 million prisoners who entered through these gates saw this sign, and maybe some of them noticed the reversed B, and maybe it gave them some hope. Hope is what gives you the strength to survive. It's very hard when you are being persecuted not to let the spirit of evil corrupt you. We've all experienced injustice. Some of us have faced situations that are horrible enough that we start to question goodness itself, whether it exists, whether we're strong enough to get through our troubles. It's during these moments, when faced with seemingly insurmountable adversity, that the true test lies not just in enduring, but in preserving your humanity. It's absolutely imperative not to simply survive, but to emerge without letting the ordeal corrupt you into bitterness. This is the challenge Maximilian faced. It was a call to rise above the darkness. You cannot allow persecution to turn you into a monster. Thankfully, Maximilian was a remarkably spiritual man. When he saw someone struggling, he would say, "Offer your pain to Mary. She will make use of it." One day, the harsh reality of life in Auschwitz presented itself in the cruelest of rituals. The work crew returns to find that one of the prisoners is missing. There's a policy in the camp: for one who escapes, 10 would pay with their lives. This is supposed to deter anyone from attempting to escape, because if you got out, you would know that 10 other prisoners would die. Under the sweltering summer sun, the men of Maximilian's block were forced to stand at attention for hours. The camp commander then began his grim selection, moving through the ranks with a chilling indifference. You. He points, each word a death sentence for those chosen to be the 10 prisoners who would be sent to the starvation bunker. The tension was palpable, each man grappling with a fate beyond his control, until the 10th man was selected, Franciszek Gowanicek. The commander pointed. You. A despair-filled cry rang out. "My wife, my children, I'll never see them again." Maximilian, who was a few rows back, stepped out of formation, walked right up to the commander, and declared, "I wish to take this man's place." The commander's gaze cold and unyielding. "Who are you?" "I am a priest. I don't care what pig dies." The reply met with a chilling dismissal. In that short exchange, Maximilian's fate was sealed, and Franciszek's life spared. When men were chosen to starve in the bunker, you could hear them from quite a ways away. That would further the anxiousness of the surrounding prisoners. You could hear them crying at night, swearing, cursing. Sometimes prisoners would try to eat other prisoners, bite them out of desperation, driven by the primal instinct to survive at all costs. It paints a harrowing picture of human suffering at its extreme. Yet it was amidst this horror that Maximilian kept hoping for some semblance of dignity. He envisioned transforming the despairing cries into collective prayer, turning the dismal bunker into something more humane. Maximilian led the prisoners to sing hymns and to pray together. And now, instead of hearing cries and shrieks of desperate prisoners, you could hear the chants of cheerful hymns. The starvation bunker became like a little chapel. This deeper part of hell became the spiritual haven of Auschwitz. Something extraordinary happened. Maximilian's influence reached beyond the starvation bunker. Prisoners who were on the outside heard the singing, and a makeshift choir formed outside the bunker's walls. The human spirit is so resilient. A dark corner of Auschwitz momentarily transformed, becoming a beacon of light as the haunting sounds of despair were replaced by a chorus of solidarity. That's something. One by one, the prisoners passed away. Voices became less and less. After 3 weeks, the Nazis wanted to clear out that room. They wanted to erase traces of defiance and unity sparked by Maximilian's presence. A nurse was ordered into the dim bunker with the purpose of ending the lives that remained within. Among the weak, barely alive prisoners, the nurse encounters Maximilian. He was laying on his back on the cement floor with a serene, glowing light that seemed to emanate from within him. Approaching him with a mixture of fear and curiosity, she squeaked, "Don't look at me, priest. Don't look at me." And then she heard him whisper back, "Do not be afraid." With a gentle smile on his lips, Maximilian raised his arm as if bestowing a blessing. He made it easier for her to do what she came to do. With a hesitant hand, she administered the lethal injection of carbolic acid, ending his life swiftly. Even in his final moments, Maximilian's grace and faith remained unshakable, casting a lasting light in the darkest corner of human history. You know, Maximilian had a strange dream ever since he was a child. He dreamt that he was soaring high above Poland, gazing down on its lush fields, vibrant flowers, and scattered buildings. This recurring vision always left him pondering its significance. Why? Why am I seeing myself floating over Poland? He thought to himself. Well, in his death, on August 14th, 1941, Maximilian's body was cremated at Auschwitz, and his ashes ascended through the chimney. They were caught by the wind and scattered over the very landscapes he once dreamt of flying above. In this ethereal way, Maximilian's vision attained a profound fulfillment. Maximilian had a saying, "If it's not within your control, be assured it is the sure will of Mary." Anything that happens to you, if it's outside of your control, my friend, it's part of the plan. Even the bad things. When the Nazis came and they knocked on the door to take him away to that horrible concentration camp where he'd be treated as less than human, Maximilian said, "Okay, God, I will do this." When it was his time to take the place of the other man, Maximilian saw in that situation an opportunity to carry out the will of God. And so no matter how bad the circumstance, all things work for the good of those who carry within their hearts the love of God. And how much better for those who love. And that is your choice. It's not an easy choice. It's a choice that goes against our base instincts for power, status, wealth, and sometimes even survival. But it is a choice that when you make it, the kingdom of heaven, so to speak, is yours. Because you will be filled with a force of love for life itself. A force so unifying, so powerful, that no earthly pleasure compares. You can see that in people who have made this discovery. They are happy, though they suffer. People like Maximilian Kolbe. With his final breath, he held up his arm and he said, "Yes, God, thy will be done." And because of that, he became not just a saint, but an inspiration for millions of people to strive for humility, selfless service, and trust in the way that your life is unfolding. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. There is a cost to seeking peace. There's a cost to asking God to come and work in our midst. Because if we want the divine to work in our midst, that means we're not just doing this lovely little ritual on Sunday in church if we're Christian, or celebrating the Sabbath if we're Jewish. We're not merely basking in the peaceful aura of our yoga classes. That's not the fullness of spirituality. It's good, but it's not where the rubber hits the road. Spirituality is who you are when no one is watching you. Spirituality is the choices you make when there's no reward for you. Spirituality is just you and God. It's the unmediated connection that you have to the greater meaning of your life. It's how you answer those little tugs at your soul when God calls you to do something. You have to stay true to that deep knowing within you. My prayer for you is that as you live these Beatitudes to the best of your ability, that your eyes remain open to the incredible rewards in pursuit of peace. Yours is the kingdom of heaven. Peace is yours. Love is yours. May we all find the courage to be light in the darkness. Thank you, my friends, for being with me. If you feel inspired by Maximilian Kolbe's remarkable testament of selfless love, come with me, walk the Camino with us. This ancient pilgrimage is more than a physical challenge. It's an opportunity to reflect, to heal, to discover deeper truths about yourself and the world around you. Whether you're seeking direction, looking for clarity about your path, or you need some space to cultivate inner peace, this journey is for you. Next week, we're moving on from the Beatitudes and we're diving into the wisdom of the mystics. See you soon. Until then, trust the mystic within you.